History is not just a collection of dates and names. It's a story, often written in blood and fire. The world we live in today, with its borders, its alliances, its technologies, and its deepest fears, was forged in the crucible of conflict. Some wars are forgotten, mere footnotes in dusty books, but others cast long shadows, their consequences echoing through generations, shaping the very fabric of our modern existence. Today we journey back in time to explore 5 monumental wars that didn't just end, but instead created the world we know. From the trenches of Europe to the jungles of Southeast Asia, these are the conflicts that defined the 20th century and continue to influence our 21st century lives. First, we traveled to 1914. The world was a tapestry of empires, old monarchies, and burgeoning new powers. Then, a single gunshot in Sarajevo lit a fuse that ignited a global inferno. World War I, known as the Great War, it was a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality. It introduced the horrors of trench warfare, chemical weapons, and industrial-scale slaughter. When the dust settled in 1918, 4 great empires, the Austro-Hungarian, the German, the Ottoman, and the Russian, had crumbled into dust. New nations were carved out of their remains, redrawing the map of Europe and the Middle East with lines that are still sources of tension today. The war's punishing peace treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, sowed the seeds of resentment that would sprout into an even deadlier conflict just 2 decades later. Socially, it propelled women into the workforce and accelerated calls for suffrage. World War I was the brutal birth of the modern era. Just 21 years later, the world was plunged back into darkness. World War II was not just a sequel to the first, but a conflict of ideology, a fight against fascism, imperialism, and tyranny. It was total war, engulfing the globe and claiming over 60 million lives, the deadliest in human history. The Holocaust revealed a capacity for human cruelty that shocked the world to its core. Technologically, the war spurred incredible advancements. Radar, jet engines, and most terrifyingly, the atomic bomb, which ended the war and ushered in the nuclear age. In its aftermath, the old European powers were eclipsed. The United States and the Soviet Union emerged as 2 superpowers, their profound ideological differences setting the stage for the next global struggle. Institutions like the United Nations were born from the ashes, created with the desperate hope of preventing such a catastrophe from ever happening again. The end of World War II did not bring peace. Instead, it marked the beginning of the Cold War. This wasn't a war fought with traditional armies clashing on battlefields, but a tense, decades-long standoff between 2 nuclear-armed superpowers, the capitalist United States and the communist Soviet Union. It was a war of spies, propaganda, and proxy conflicts fought across the globe. The world was divided into 2 camps, symbolized by the Iron Curtain that fell across Europe. The constant threat of nuclear annihilation hung over humanity like a sword. This era fueled the space race, pushing humanity to the moon, and drove a relentless technological arms race that developed the very computers and networks that power our world today. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 ended the Cold War, leaving the United States as the sole superpower and reshaping global politics into the complex, multipolar world we navigate now. Within the larger Cold War, smaller yet incredibly significant hot wars erupted. One of the most divisive was the Korean War. In 1950, the Cold War turned hot on the Korean Peninsula, a nation divided after World War II. The Communist North, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded the South, which was supported by the United States and the United Nations coalition. After 3 years of brutal fighting and millions of casualties, the war ended in a stalemate, an armistice, not a peace treaty. The result was the permanent division of Korea along the 38th parallel, creating one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth. The Korean War solidified the U.S. policy of containment, demonstrating its willingness to use military force to stop the spread of communism. Today, the tense standoff between North and South Korea remains a dangerous global flashpoint, a frozen conflict and a direct, living legacy of the Cold War's ideological battle. Another tragic chapter of the Cold War was the Vietnam War. What began as a local struggle for independence from French colonial rule spiraled into a major proxy war between the Communist North, backed by China and the Soviet Union, and the anti-communist South, heavily supported by the United States. It was a war fought in dense jungles and rice paddies, and for the first time, its brutal realities were broadcast into living rooms every night. The war deeply divided American society, sparking massive anti-war protests and creating a credibility gap between the government and its people. For Vietnam, the war was a devastating tragedy that left millions dead and a country in ruins. The eventual use of withdrawal and the fall of Saigon in 1975 was a stunning blow to American prestige and military confidence. It fundamentally changed how America viewed foreign intervention and the limits of its power, a legacy that continues to influence its foreign policy decisions to this day. From the fall of empires to the rise of superpowers, from the dawn of the nuclear age to the digital revolution, these 5 conflicts are more than just history. They are the architects of our reality. The borders on our maps, the alliances between our nations, the technology in our hands, and the very ideals we fight for were all shaped in these crucibles of war. Understanding them is not about glorifying conflict, but about understanding ourselves and the world we have inherited. It's a sobering reminder that the past is never truly past. It lives on in the challenges and opportunities we face every single day. The decisions made in trenches, war rooms, and peace conferences decades ago continue to ripple outwards, defining the present and shaping the future yet to be written. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you found this exploration enlightening, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments which historical event you'd like us to cover next. Until then, stay curious